Just Answering Questions with WAPTech, where I respond to people's statements they form as a question because they don't want to be pinned down on facts. I made a video about a claim someone made, again, it was a response, about what caused seatbelts. If you're not aware of it, every time someone comes up with a method that clearly makes it much better for everybody to exist, a tiny portion of the population will see it as a sign, oh, it has to be a conspiracy theory. That's what they want you to believe. Or they will just get angry because suddenly the majority of people are talking about something they weren't talking about. Welcome to last Tuesday. Sorry if you weren't hip to this. Jazz is a thing. There's smooth jazz. There must be chaotic jazz, correct? Actually, that's just jazz, isn't it? Yeah, real jazz. Anyway, let's move on. The video I did talked about the actual cause for seatbelts to be put in and what benefits, quote-unquote, beer can quality cars with, quote, unsafe alloys had. I can also point out that really unsafe shotguns exist and you're better off with a water pipe. But let's move on. Someone decided to respond to this video almost exclusively about safety concerns, public safety, health benefits, public policies, by talking about something not about cars. A blank channel, started in 2021, has decided that I don't believe people have the right to choose things that may have been implemented for their protection. Which is the exact opposite of what I said. Let's continue. This individual decided because he has to wear a seatbelt, I have to wear one as well, and if I have to wear a seatbelt, he has to wear one. Yeah, because we get a ticket if we don't. And I don't know if I mentioned in the video. Actually, I did. I don't care if you die in a car wreck. I care if I die in a car wreck. The car being made to absorb energy before it actually transfers to us in any way, making us less likely to die, is fantastic. It means the car is a single-use item. It's a throwaway item. Stop buying expensive cars. Get 2 cars for when, not if, it gets totaled by a stupid fender bender. Or, like I was suggesting in another unrelated video, buy a car that's made to where it won't be disabled completely by an impact and only needs the panels replaced. 1970s era pickup trucks and 80s, and also, well, pre-1981 grocery getters, otherwise known as station wagons. They're notorious for taking horrible impacts, but you can just keep driving them. You just have to rip some parts out and replace them. It's a trip to the junkyard instead of the hospital because they have high safety rating. One of the arguments people made is you can't wear a seatbelt and survive as easy if you don't. That's bullshit, except in one case. If it's a rollover down a cliff or a hillside, being thrown from the car is better than being tumble-dried in it. But other than that very, very narrow case, there aren't any good reasons not to wear a seatbelt. But again, I don't care if you wear a seatbelt, and you deciding you don't want to wear a seatbelt doesn't decide if I do. Your actions should not affect my lifespan or my happiness. This is the central conceit that people avoid when we talk about public policy. He also decided that if he decides to smoke, does that decide I have to? Now, this is not a false equivalency. This is bullshit. I don't care if you smoke. I'm not going to. And if WAPTech doesn't smoke, does he get to insist that this guy doesn't smoke? No, I didn't say that. This isn't putting words in my mouth. This is tying me up in a funny outfit and putting a ball gag on me. Stop it. I'm not into that. I charge for it. But anyway, let's move on. Now, seriously, this is getting a little kinky here, right? Let's move on. I'm seeing a person who's into smoking fetish commenting here, but he's also a furry. But let's move on. Have I moved on yet? Let's move on some more. Anyway, this person's not just misinterpreting what I'm saying. They're off on a tangent about smoking, something the person's obsessed with. But anyway, the person says, secondhand smoke science is unscientific. I'm a victim of secondhand smoke because both of my parents smoked when I was a kid. It caused permanent lung damage. It's directly traced to it. And there are millions of us walking this planet in our 50s and younger that experience this. There are millions of us who never took a drag who ended up having medical problems. Cancer, Cancer not caused from any other carcinogen, and in my case, horrible amounts of upper respiratory, thank goodness it's only upper respiratory, damage to the villi in my throat, my trachea, whatever the hell these things are called. I get them all mixed up. The air tubes. The bronchial tubings and surfaces are stripped clean. I was unconscious when they did the exam because I don't have that kind of ability to tolerate them putting a little camera down my throat. But yeah, you don't have any villi. That's why I have a permanent cough. I cough like I've been smoking for 10 years. Because I did it involuntarily because of my parents. Now, any of you say otherwise and say that's bullshit, there's something I'm going to explain to you. I literally slap people in person who start fucking with me over this subject. I don't stop myself. And I've never gone to jail because I explained to someone blew smoke in my face after I told them that I have permanent lung damage from secondhand smoke, and they got bitch slapped. And then I told the judge, I want you to throw me in jail, and I want you to put the entire information that I gave you as the title of this. I'm not pleading innocent. I'm not pleading guilty. I'm pleading justified. No conviction. That and the fact that I happened to be the bouncer at the club, and this asshole was told no smoking in this area, because these are people who have lung damage. By the way, it was at a club with lung cancer victims, you cunt. But anyway, let's move on. Are we moving on? Cars can give off deadly fumes. Why doesn't everyone have to stop driving them? Because they have mufflers, catalytic converters, and other systems to help it, as well as compounds put in them. There's a compound that's put into diesel vehicles to keep them from being a source of pollution. And they try to reduce it down to a certain amount unless some politician comes along who's paid off to try to undo that. Why don't cigarettes have asbestos filters anymore? Because, nitwit, that was a dumb idea. Like uranium paint and radium watch dials. Yes, there was uranium paint. This individual now decides, I don't believe he is correct about cigarette smoke. You got that right without me even bringing it up. And again, I'm one of the victims that's listed on the studies from Eastern Oregon. I could even point to which one they have because it's pretty obvious it's me, who has literally no lining to his bronchial tubes at 20. I was born in 1968. You can go look up the data. But I'm listed 4 times as patient number whatever, different ones each time, anonymized, as an example of absolute dead bang proof that this is a condition you can't have unless it's this kind of exposure or mustard gas. I don't think I was in the World War. So, yeah, this was caused by that because it caused a bacterial infection to strip my lungs. That's it. This isn't a discussion. You're just wrong. I don't give a fuck. But again, I don't care if you smoke and kill yourself, and I don't care if you don't wear a seatbelt. We were talking about cars originally. This individual has now come up with a challenge. I sit in a garage running a car with the windows and doors shut for the building, and I'm in the car for an hour because he wants me to commit suicide. Also, he gets to sit in an identical garage with 1,000 smokers, and we'll see which one is dead. And then calls me a jerk-off and says, I have decided that Waptec thinks he is protecting people by forcing them to do what Waptec chose to do to live longer. He said it in a different way, but no, I'm not forcing you to do things that I found out will keep me alive longer. Because some of them are a little bit different for me than you. I can't eat certain foods without getting really sick. And I can eat some things in combinations that most of you would absolutely run out of the building from. Which is what most of you are. I mean, most of you have a diet that freaks out somebody, don't you? But I'm not deciding that if any of these things. But yeah, if I was forcing people to do things that made them live longer, I don't know what the fuck your problem is. But okay, have a problem with it. It's not that you're an object lesson in why being a contrarian is hopefully only lethal to the contrarian. Again, not wearing a seatbelt is probably not going to kill anybody else unless you become a projectile, which you might. And smoking isn't going to kill anybody else unless you go out of your way to try to make it hurt people. And again, if you were in a club, I will slap you. I will bitch slap you with my lovely bright pink outfit on because it stood out. Pink Panther outfit, literally dressed as the Pink Panther, by the way, during that cancer. You might see me in photos. Because you're at a benefit for lung cancer victims, and you're blowing smoke in people's faces. And we allowed a smoking section. It was the majority of the club, but oh no, someone had to come over and get bitch slapped by the security guy who was supposed to prevent this. I used to have it hung up on my wall. I burned it eventually. It's not on my record anywhere because they expunged it because it was an, quote, inappropriate use of force against basically what we would call now a troll. This individual has now decided, I think I'm protecting people by forcing them to do what I chose to do to live longer. That's not what they typed up because they don't want to say that, but that is what they said. Now, if I was accused of that, I don't do that. I'm not going to do that. But if I did that, that's not something anybody's going to fault me for. And the next thing is, again, if you want to kill yourself by not wearing a seatbelt or doing something else stupid, you're welcome to do it. But the minute it leaves your immediate vicinity and can hurt anybody from 4 inches to 40 miles away, I am going to have a problem with it because it might hurt me. What you do should not hurt me. If it does, I will tell you to stop. If you don't do what I tell you, I'm going to bitch slap you until you knock it off. Stop blowing smoke in my face or up my ass. The video was about car safety and a lie told about it that I was responding to. It's not about involuntary smoking. Being forced to smoke other people's cigarettes, whether you like it or not, is what's going on here. Again, I'm a victim of this for over a decade of my lifespan, and I have an attitude about it. It's earned. I've never actually brought this up, but the other reason I have lung damage, at least on paper, is from the bacterial infections. That's what it says on the judgment that I supposedly lost but got paid off for by RJR. I'm one of thousands, if not millions of people in the United States that have settled out of court with RJ Reynolds and other companies that made specifically Camel cigarettes, whatever company it was, I don't remember, as a class action suit. They settled because it was independently proven to be traced exclusively to exposure to nicotine, causing destruction of the lining of the lungs and subsequent bacterial infections because the lining didn't heal. And eventually it healed to the point I have partial recovery of tissue, meaning I have some villi, which means at least I can cough crap up now. But the video is about, sir, this is a Denny's. But anyway, let's move on. Next, scientific evidence that's independently created has firmly established that there is no safe level of exposure to tobacco smoke. Vaping is still iffy, and it doesn't cause me problems. If I'm a canary in a coal mine, I'm not even gagging. 80% of people in foreign countries and in the United States, when polled, unless you rig it, approve of smoke-free zones or smoke-free ordinance laws locally. As of 2007, 80% in 15 countries, including the United States, Canada, Mexico, etc. France was listed at 70%, even though it's considered the smoking capital of the planet. No independently funded research has shown any negative economic impact from smoke-free laws and has shown actual benefits from it because more people are inclusive in an area. Having a place where no one can smoke doesn't keep a smoker from coming in and smoking outside, usually. Philip Morris, British American Tobacco, etc. have used a network of ostensibly independent front organizations and paid off international and scientific experts to allege suppression of proof. And then when you analyze the proof, it's always rigged. Disclosure, there are two incidents where out of hundreds of other studies, somebody rigged the data to prove that cigarette smoke was dangerous. I understand that. And one of them was funded by Philip Morris directly so they could create a fake case. So that is not conclusive that the scientific consensus is crap. That's showing that literally an industry is willing to falsify a bad guy to be defending themselves against because they're so fucking guilty. Now, to review. Sir, this is the Denny's. I was doing a video on cars, seatbelts, and safety, not whatever the fuck you're obsessed with. Next, most of what you're saying here is about trying to kill me or making me put up with you doing something that will kill me off eventually, potentially. And me telling you, I don't have to put up with that, I can leave the building, stop following me around, blowing smoke in my face, I'm not into that, and you're not hot enough. The next thing is, again, I got away with bitch slapping an asshole who showed up at a lung cancer benefit, blowing smoke in people's faces, calling them pussies. You came to the wrong neighborhood, boy. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.